everybody to our contact tracing demo and Q&A. We are going to start with Steve Seiden, who's the president of Acquired Data Solutions, and then our Nader Fadi will lead us through the demo partner. We're going to bring your attention down at the bottom. You'll see that there's a Q&A button. Feel free to write your questions about anything that comes up for you today. And we will get to the question and answer portion just at the end of the demo. It probably should take just about 30 minutes to get through the demo. I'd like to welcome several local government agencies. There's also several universities and several businesses here. So this will be good for everybody to learn a little bit about how we're going to move forward in these times to keep everybody safe. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Seiden, the president of Acquired Data Solutions.
Thank you very much, Gabe, and welcome everybody. Just to set the table a little bit, Acquired Data Solutions is a company that specializes in data acquisition and test and measurement solutions. We've been in business for 22 years, and we've done a lot of government contracting. The Kiana and ADS relationship started about 7 years ago. When Nader called me up, I've known Nader for about 10 or 15 years, and he said, I got this great, amazing technology that's really cool. It leverages existing Wi-Fi. You don't have to write any software for it. You can just turn it on and you can start doing asset collection and location collection on people, places, and things. So with that, I just wanted to talk about what is the new normal. I know in my own family right now, we ask all kinds of questions about, are we going to take public transportation? Imagine being in New York or Washington or some of these metropolitan areas where people rely on public transportation. How are they going to get people to take public transportation? I can raise my hand right now and say, I'm not getting on public transportation for a long time because I can't trust it. I went to the bank this morning and I was nervous because I was dwelling in the bank for longer than I wanted to be. And that scared me. So I wanted to get out of there. What will traffic look like? Now, who am I sitting next to? What's that cough that guy has? I was in the bank this morning and the guy was coughing and I'm like, you can't be coughing in the bank. We don't know what that is. And so there's a lot of unknowns going on. And how am I going to not get my kids sick or my aging mom sick? And just all these questions. I'm sure there's a ton of questions floating around in your own head right now. But with that said, the main question is, how do we get back to work and school safely? How do we do that? And it's funny because when the coronavirus started was roughly March 15th or 14th or right around that when we got shut down in America. And the first person I called was Nader. And Nader and I have been on the phone excessively since that date, trying to figure out how to get this solution out to the market. What can we sell? What problems are we fixing? And how do we do this correctly where we know we have technology that doesn't need a lot of support to get up and running? So we've developed solutions with this product that can handle contact tracing, that can handle surgical cleaning when you have too many people congregating in one place, that can talk about physical distancing and re-engineering your facility, and doing that in a way that corporations, schools, hospitals, universities, whatever they are, can do this effectively and efficiently and at a reasonable cost to get people a safeguard and a countermeasure to get them back to work. So basically, what we're doing is we're leveraging this technology and targeting closed private networks. We're not trying to be everything to everybody. Right now in our marketplace, it's people that have private networks, that have Wi-Fi configurations, that know who's in them, that know who should be there and how to collect this data. We're talking to universities right now, corporations right now that have these closed networks. We leverage existing infrastructure. So that means if you have Wi-Fi access points already located in your facility, we can either integrate with them or we can do things to leverage them without having you to have a heavy lift to get this up and running. We have patented technology. We do not need an app. So the way the technology works, we use a MAC address or a Wi-Fi code off your phone that's always pinging a Wi-Fi device about every 3 seconds. So all this stuff's happening already anyway. We're all not even conscious of it, and it's happening. And then we really take a big, hard stand on maintaining personal privacy and protecting the individuals. And with that, I'm going to turn that over to Nader to continue talking about the solution and give a demo.
Thank you so much, Steve. First of all, it's an honor to be hosting this webinar. If I may ask if you all go on mute. Before I start, first of all, I want to thank the first responders. I want to thank all the healthcare workers. They are really the heroes. And really what we are trying to do is to really make employees, people safe and make sure the corporations are running. So as Steve mentioned, when this thing happened and we had the shutdown in California, same time frame, I ran into this article which was written in Harvard Business Review. And it was actually a very interesting article. It talked about if your employee tested positive for COVID, what do you do? And this article went in and really talked about the human aspect of this. They talk about you need to act quick, you need to express sympathy, and then of course you have to alert other people and so on and so forth. One thing which really was interesting to me was what they talk about, really who was this employee in contact with. They really talk about the concept, which is now a household term, called contact tracing. So this gives us an idea is that what is it we can do here to really help people get back to work and make sure corporations are safe. So before I get going, one of the big issues that we have been working on for the last 7+ years that Kiana has been around is really making sure that the data is protected and really make sure privacy is in the center of everything we do. We are GDPR, which is a European data protection regulation, as well as in California, we are CCPA. And again, it's extremely important to understand that the data that we provide really belongs to the company that we work with, and they're the only one who can see this data. All right. So our system, basically, what is happening is that if somebody is ill, in this example, we have this individual, this employee, Jill, which says, hey, I am sick. I may have 103-degree temperature. I'm at home. So she contacts her company. And what the company does, it uses our solution to basically see who else was exposed to her, right? And when we talk about exposed, we're talking about two things, not only the time they were together, but also the zones and the locations they were together, okay? So this is what our system does, and I will show you a demo of that shortly. All right, how do we do this? As Steve mentioned correctly, our technology does not require any app, does not require any special hardware, does not require any software to be installed on the Wi-Fi. What we need is for a Wi-Fi device to be on. Now, the example I'm showing you here happens to be a screenshot from an Apple iPhone, but this could be your laptop, it could be your iPad, it could be anything which is Wi-Fi enabled. When that happens, and if we are installed in one of your buildings, and by the way, we support the top enterprise Wi-Fi manufacturers. In the right-hand side, you see HP Aruba, Cisco, Ruckus, and Fortinet. Basically, we can see the movement of the devices in this building. We can see how many people are passing by. We can see dwell time. So this person is in the building 50 minutes, this one 25 minutes. We can see the distance between the two, as well as new versus repeat. So this person is coming back to the building. Again, how do we do this is basically looking at the private Wi-Fi signals in the building. Again, I want to emphasize no app, no software, no hardware. We're using the existing infrastructure which is in the building. All right, a little bit more about the architecture. How does this all work and what type of a data is it that we are collecting? So all your devices, as you see on the left-hand side here, as I mentioned, it's not only your phone, but it could be a laptop, it could be your desk computer, anything which is Wi-Fi enabled is pinging the Wi-Fi access point. Each time I pick up my phone, each time I look at my email, each time I get a text message from my loved ones, or each time I look at CNN, your phone is pinging the access point. What it does, basically what the router in the building sees is a bunch of interesting data. Number one, it sees your device ID. Device ID, also known as a MAC ID, which basically is the unique identification on the Wi-Fi chip on the device. Every device which is Wi-Fi enabled has a unique identification. The second thing we see is the location of the access point. This is basically an anchor point. This is how we calculate the location of these devices. And the third one, of course, is the timestamp. So this data then gets pushed to our cloud. Again, this is a cloud-based solution. Again, remember, all we see is those three data, location, time, and then the MAC ID, right? We are not putting any special software on the devices. We are not seeing what's inside your infrastructure. You're pushing that data to us, and data is basically hash is hidden. So based on that, we do the analytics. We also provide what's called as a guest Wi-Fi. So if you want people to log in, and you may want to do that with students or people in your company, we could do this. We have done this over 50 countries worldwide. We have actually processed over 600 million MAC IDs so far. So again, we are very familiar with the big data, machine learning, and also artificial intelligence analysis here. All right. So Kiana, we have been working using this same technology, what we call the facility management solution. Actually, next week, you're going to see, we're going to do a press release with Swiss Rail. Swiss Rail, as you know, is the largest railroad in Switzerland, and they are very much interested to use our technology to manage their workers. So, for example, they wanted to see how many people are in the workspace. What is the utilization of the workspace? When do contractors come in versus salespeople? And so on and so forth. So again, we took the same technology and we extended it to now cover the COVID-19 contact tracing. Before I show you a live demonstration, again, as Steve mentioned, we have been very busy presenting this solution, not only to US, but across globe. My day yesterday started with presenting this to a group in Germany and ended at midnight California time talking to a very large organization in Philippines. And midday, we're talking to US. So we are really talking to people 24/7 about this solution. And what the feedback we are getting is very interesting because as you see, everybody is talking about the COVID solution, and what customers are telling us, it's the aha moment. They're saying this is really interesting because we see it exists. So with that, I am going to change my window. I hope you all can see my web browser. This is how you will log in into Kiana. By the way, we at Kiana support different regions because of the data privacy. Again, notice that we have hosting facilities, of course, in US, in Europe because of GDPR, in Singapore for our Asian customers, and for Switzerland. Again, we see more and more countries like to keep that data within their own building. So I'm going to log in here, and what you're going to see shortly is our dashboard. So I am going to give you an example of one of the sites that we have. This is a Kiana test site that we're working on, and I wanted to start by showing you what we call the real-time data. So real-time data basically will show me this building, which actually happens to be in Portland, Oregon. And what you're seeing is, if you see here on the right-hand side of my screen, is there's a meter here, tells me where are the hotspots. So right now, looking at this device in this building, by the way, I see 79 devices in this building. These are all Wi-Fi enabled, and I'm going to talk more about what this 79 is. But I can see right off the bat, where are the concentration of people? So one of the things companies are looking at right now is at the choke points, right? What are the areas where people are gathering and we may want to have them to, distance from each other. So that's the first thing we look at. But let me go to my apps here. And what I'm going to show you is that exactly what's going on in this location here. So before I do that, let me show you how easy is it for you to set this up. So let me back up. So again, Google tells us what's outside. Google has done a fantastic job giving us the map. By the way, as I mentioned, this happened to be a location in northwest of US. And so what our customers do is the first thing they do is that they give us a 2D map. Well, they import a 2D map of their location on top of the Google map, right? So you see this here. By the way, this happens to be a 3-story building. So this is the second floor of the same building, and this is the third floor. So again, very simply, what they do is that they grab the 2D map that they already have, and they just put it on top of the Google map. The second thing that you see here is the location of all the access points. So in this building, you notice these are the access points. So again, they do a drag and drop of where those APs are. So notice when I move my cursor on top of it, the system knows the latitude and longitude of where those APs are. So in this example, on this floor, you're seeing roughly about 9 access points in this building, right? The other thing which you may notice is all those red dots. Those red dots, and when I move on it, you see the device ID, which is, again, remember, also known as MAC ID in this building. So today, I am seeing about 81 devices right now. This is live data we are showing in this location. Now, we see 3 things. Number one, we see fixed equipment. A fixed equipment is a device which is not moving. For example, it could be your server. It could be the computer on your desk. It could be a printer, anything with Wi-Fi, we see that. The second one is we see employees. How do I know employees? 2 ways. Number one, using pattern recognition. So for example, if you see the same person every day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., guess what? This must be an employee, right? Or he or she, as I mentioned, logged in as an employee. And last but not least, we see visitors. So visitors are the people who we have never seen before. Is a device which is brand new to us, okay? So before I show you what we can do with this data, let me also talk about the concept of zones. So another thing which we can do here is we can go ahead and actually specify what are the zones in this area. So notice this company, what they did in this example, they said, this is our innovation center, this is our NOC team, this is the engineering team, these are the common areas, entrance, lobby, and so on. So this is also very important because not only you wanted to know who are the people who were exposed, but where were they? And this is really extremely important, especially when you're going to do deep cleaning in a building, right? It's very expensive to have people in bunny suit and come clean your factory or your buildings or university. In this case, you know where the people are. Okay, so let me go ahead and turn that off so you can see what's going on. All right, so what I'm going to do next, notice that there's a filter here. The filter is a very powerful tool because I can look for a person or a device. So let's say there is a missing laptop or I'm looking for someone, I can type in their device ID here and it will show me where he or she or that equipment is. That's number one. The second thing is that notice I can go ahead and turn off different views here. So notice we have 83 devices. If I turn off fixed equipment, this number should drop rapidly. Yep, see it dropped to 4. Again, like everywhere else around the globe, we are stuck in home. So not that many people at work today. So there's only 4 people here. But also notice I have this thing called exposed. So one of the things our tool allows you to do is to create your own custom group, right? So I may have a group called engineering. I may have a group called accounting team. But in this case, what they did is that if somebody is sick and they report it to the company, again, this is based on opt-in, they put it in this group here, right? So, and based on that, what they can do, they can see who he or she was exposed to. So notice I'm going to select one of these device IDs, and I may ask to show me the historical track of where that device was during this time frame. So what the system is doing, it's going in the database and it says, okay, let me see, where else have I seen this individual? It comes back and it says, hey, there's a lot of data. You want me to show this? Or you can specify time range. I can say, hey, show it to me only for the last 3 days or the last 10 days. So in this case, I'm going to say, well, show me all the data. Hopefully you guys can see that green dots. This is what we call a digital cookie crumb. So each time the phone pinged, we have that data. So notice we saw this device arrived at 7:57 a.m., went here at 11, and so on and so forth. So we know 2 things about this. So the exposed person, who was she with, at what time, and also which locations they were with. So this is a very powerful tool. Again, remember, the phone, each time it pings, which could be as down at 3 seconds, we collect this data. Okay, so what do you do next with this? So what you do next with this is that our system generates a report. So in this case, HR will know, or somebody in the company knows, that this is the device ID of the person that reported that she has COVID in this case, right? What the system does, automatically identifies all the devices that she was exposed to. So of course, these are all in our headquarters. We know what time. The other one is which zones were they with, right? And for how long. This is really important, because if I pass someone in the hallway, chances of me passing COVID to someone is pretty small. But in this case, notice these two have been together for 62 minutes. So the system allows you to put in duration. It allows you to specify what you mean by the exposure level. So in this case, they say anything less than 10 minutes is low, 30 minutes to 45 minutes is mid, and above 45 is pretty high. What you also notice is that the data we see is all hashed. So we don't even know the real device IDs. This is what comes through our cloud. It's all gibberish, right? So you cannot make sense of this. And what happens is that then HR uses this data to map into their own internal database. Again, anything which is in gray, we do not see. This is all within the company's database, and they can go ahead and automatically contact those people. And they said, you know, we think you have been exposed to somebody. We suggest you stay home, see your health workers or whatnot, right? By the way, the system really shows you the whole flow. So if I see who else was contacted, I can click on this. This takes me to all the people he contacted with, and so on and so forth. So this way you will have a very good idea about all the people within the organization. Okay, so for sake of time, I'm going to go back into my PowerPoint. I hope this was useful. So basically what we showed you, again, that we see the movement of the devices and who they were exposed to. So we see all the footfall in this case. And the other thing which we have done, and again, Steve talked about some of the projects we have with the US Department of Homeland Security, and our solution has been also used for physical security. Another thing we can do, we can also augment this data with pictures from security cameras, for example, right? So not only I can see the movement of the device, but let's say if it's outside of the building, I can go ahead and say, who does this device belongs to? So we basically can fuse pictures from security cameras. By the way, I'm talking about the video management system with basically the device ID that we have. All right. We did talk about, which is really a huge differentiation of Kiana versus other solutions out there, and that is to specify the zones. Again, zones are extremely important because this people which come in with a bunny suit to clean your facilities, these are very expensive people and very disruptive to your business. So again, it's extremely important to see, do we really need to go and clean every factory, every building, every floor, or just the ones which have been exposed? So again, in our system, we can identify that. So really what I want to talk about here is how do I make both people are safe, but also which working areas we need to take care of, right? So again, that is what we bring in, not only people and their devices, but also areas here. All right. So another question that everybody has, and again, I am joining you from Silicon Valley, California, and we start opening up some businesses. The big issue is that how do you re-engineer your facilities after the governor says, okay, go back to work? And everybody's scratching their head. How are we going to do that? Well, without data, it is going to be extremely difficult to do this, right? You need to look at the pattern. You need to look at where the people are. You need to look at the distance between people and really re-engineer your facilities going forward there, right? So again, this picture down here, you see this conference room, we're all sitting next to each other. You know, this is going to go away, right? I mean, our office, we have a cafeteria in there, and latest I talked to the owner of the cafeteria. He says, you know what, we may need to close this down. We talked to a university, they talked about that actually shutting down their student union and then the common area, because that's where all the traffic happens. So again, How do you do this? Is having some solid data. Without data, it is very difficult to just re-engineer your facilities there. All right. The other thing that we have is to be able to alert when an individual or a device is back on campus. So let's say in our example, we told Julie to stay away for 10 days. Please don't come back because you're going to get your coworkers sick and you may impact our company. And she's back for whatever reason. Maybe she left her jacket or her notebook or whatever, right? So as soon as this device comes back, our system basically flags that this device in the area. By the way, this happens to be an example of my device in our office. And it says, she's here, right? So just putting a yellow sign on the wall may not be sufficient. So in this case, we can actually see when the device is back in this case. All right. Before I pass it on to Steve here to summarize for us, I wanted to also talk about what do we see as the solutions out there. So you see countries such as South Korea, China, Israel, and I think Singapore, what they're doing, they're really quote unquote spying on the virus. So really looking at the cell signals of the citizens to be able to see this contact tracing. Well, in the US, we cannot do that. In the US, as you all know, Supreme Court last year passed a law that even the police needs to go get the judge's order in order to do this. So again, privacy is a major issue here. We don't think this is going to fly in the US. So let's move on to the next one. As you see, there's a lot of companies building app. The big announcement, as you all saw, was Apple and Google, which they're going to do this using Bluetooth. Bluetooth got major issues. By the way, I wrote a blog on Kiana's website, can talk about the Bluetooth. But the big one let me talk about is two things. Number one is adoption. For an app to work, you need 60% of the population to download an app, right? US, 60% of people, that's roughly about 200 million people. Well, that's a huge number. The second issue, Bluetooth may not be smart enough in buildings. And let me give you an example. If I have a large conference room and one of the guys is sitting in the other side of the conference room, which is too far from the Bluetooth is not going to recognize that I'm in contact with this person. Although guess what? We were in the same zone for many hours. So chances of him catching virus is pretty high. Why? Because virus is flying through the air conditioning and so on. So again, a lot of false positives. Again, on Kiana, what's important is that we are not trying to boil the ocean. We are not doing this for city and nations. We are focusing on corporations, factories, and universities. Again, very focused area. It is zone-based. Again, we are not spying on anybody. This is all based on what we call a trusted economy. Whoever is sick is going to report to their manager or university that, hey, I have this illness. And based on that, the system start crunching and identify everybody else. The fact the data resides within your company or university, nobody else looks at it, and it's hashed, so the privacy concerns are very low. With that, let me pass it on to Steve.
Thank you, Nader. You did a terrific job explaining this, and I want to re-emphasize what Nader said earlier about our first line of offense, the first line of workers that we have, and how grateful we are to them. And I want to answer, there's one question that I want to answer real quick about MAC addresses. So this is an opt-in system, but we know right now that universities and some businesses are making it mandatory that if they are sick, that they opt in and they tell people. So we have to rely on the public and your workers and staff to opt in. So they are trying not to make other people sick and affect everybody. And in summary with that, we'll open up to more questions in a moment. Employee health status is something that we need to know. So what do we need? We need that employee health status. We need the Wi-Fi to be on, and that can be done through through both phones or Wi-Fi badges or different technologies that get Wi-Fi out there, not just phones only. We need a private network because we are not trying to solve this for everybody, just for the corporations out there. And you need a contact tracing platform, which I think we showed that we have. So, and where this applies, it applies pretty much everywhere: offices, factories, schools, hospitals, you name it. We believe you need it, and people, I believe, need countermeasures right now. And it is a little bit of a pay-to-play world. I think that people are going to have to invest in their companies, in their universities, in their staff, in a way that people make them, that corporations and businesses and universities make people want to come back. And the more that we can show people that we're putting things in place so that they're protected or they have an opportunity to be protected, the higher the likelihood of people are going to come back to restaurants, bars, universities, work more quickly. Thanks everybody for being here. It was wonderful. And thank you for giving us the time so that you can learn about our solutions and how we can help America reopen.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.